If you haven't seen the previous video in this series, follow the link on your screen or click the link in the description or pinned comment below.
This intro used to have a lot more guys in it, and now it's loaded with women. And that's fine, but it feels like a sort of, we have females leading the cast on this movie, so we should have them in the intro too, right? Maybe the audience will think they've always been there. And of course, we know they haven't, and this just made it look like you're trying too hard to be inclusive, Marvel.
Huh? You mean the logo that is quite often changed to be relevant to the film in some way? Like the Wakanda Forever logo featuring nothing but Chadwick Boseman even though he wasn't in the film? Or the WandaVision one where they made it look like it was from the 50s? Or when they turned it green for Loki? Or when it got animated for What If? Or when it was in black and white for Werewolf by Night? I could go on, but the point is, this seems to be a pander to the lunatics that attack these properties for focusing on the women in them. Don't believe me? Here's what Jeremy said about the She's Got Help scene in Endgame.
The sentiment comes from a good place, but this shot is patronizing in so many ways. It's like after years of not creating action figures for their characters and not making solo, female-driven stories, here's our acknowledgement of their importance. And as if all the women would suddenly show up all at once with no men. Kind of insulting.
Wow, would you look at that? Here's Jeremy upset at Marvel for not acknowledging their importance outside of a shoehorn scene, but somehow, 5 years later, he's mad at them for acknowledging them. It seems like CinemaSins just takes the popular internet opinion, doesn't it?
Does that hammer thing have an infinity stone in it? And if it doesn't, why did you make it look so much like it did?
In order for this critique to make any sense, you would have to be consistent with every piece of tech in the MCU that glows, and of course, you aren't. By the time your Homecoming video came out, the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie had been a thing for a few years, meaning you should have known about the Power Gem by then. But you never questioned the Chitauri-derived weapons in that film, and they were just as purple and glowy as this universal weapon. Heck, the bangle she's wearing is purple and glowy. The truth is, universal weapons are given to every Kree accuser, and they all seem to have different properties. This is because they are based on cosmorods from the comics, weapons given to the Kree that have been shown with various powers. No big conspiracy necessary.
Look how much electricity she's using. String lights, neon, lava lamp, and it's daytime.
You could argue her room would be darker without those lights, even at daytime. I have a very similar issue, as the office where I write and edit these videos is relatively dark during the day because the windows face east, meaning I get little sunlight after 12 p.m.
Shine on, baby.
Stealing your superhero phrase from a pop socket.
You know pop sockets can be customized, right? Meaning she probably put her catchphrase on that pop socket herself.
When did she change into her superhero costume? We just saw her in street clothes at the top of this scene.
What Jeremy's not telling you is the top of this scene was 2 movie minutes ago, in which time Kamala was imagining herself meeting Captain Marvel. The implication is that while she was daydreaming, she changed to her suit. This man is close to 50 years old and needs this explained to him.
Movie spends way too long on a flashback recap of the original Captain Marvel movie. Like, even if I forgot that movie entirely, which I did, I would still feel like this was too much backstory.
The Marvels legitimately can't catch a break. If it isn't the morons on Twitter claiming you needed to watch 2 different TV shows to understand this movie's story, which you don't, and was always a dumb critique, then it's CinemaSins claiming there's too much backstory present here. This movie stood no chance.
You chose to wear the Remember My Worst Memories headband? This is a torture device. Call a therapist and put the brain zapper away for f***'s sake.
Everything you just said was wrong. This device was used by the Kree to extract information from Carol in the first film, which is exactly what she's using it for here. It's also not her worst memories. You literally just said it showed her a memory of Monica.
Isn't it odd that Carol's memory lingers on Monica's face? Carol's memory should be of flying through the sky, not Monica's adorable smile as her hero abandons her, displaying your faux pussy for all to see.
Right. What? Why didn't you remove us then?
Incoming call from Nick Fury.
Oh.
What is she doing? Is she just floating out in space with her cat, just not doing anything helpful for any solar system until called upon?
CinemaSins Star Trek.
Let it be known that Chaos Carol has a uselessly unplugged 3D printer hanging out in a windowsill and a bottle of A1 tucked behind her untidy kitchen. I don't know why these two things in particular bother me so much, but they do.
Unfortunately, in a video titled Everything Wrong With, you are burdened with the task of explaining why these things are problems, and since you admit you are unable to...
Having a table that can be activated by a cat.
Jeremy? That's not a cat.
Why are the Nick Fury helpers all dressed like helmetless stormtroopers?
I don't know, but you are supposed to tell us why it's a sin.
You're in the neighborhood, right?
Okay, again, it's weird that she's got nothing to do and is just floating through space chilling, but why the f*** would Captain Marvel let Nick Fury keep tabs on her whereabouts?
Because they're allies? What kind of question is this? Why would she be hiding from one of her oldest friends, one who had been helping her for 30 years?
Also, why does she even need a spaceship?
Because the ship can perform wormhole jumps, something that allows her to traverse space far faster than she can fly. And considering the A1 sauce you pointed out earlier, she also clearly keeps food in here, something that probably couldn't survive the vacuum of space. Do you see how just asking a question doesn't equate to being a sin?
Monica?
She's not that little kid you remember.
Captain Marvel understands how time works, yeah? Her first movie was in the 90s, and this movie is present day, so yeah. Monica is not a little kid anymore. And why has Captain Marvel not visited Monica any time between the end of Endgame and now?
You're asking a question that is answered by literally watching this movie.
Your mom told me that you always dreamed of going to space, that you had something to prove.
You said you'd be back before I knew it. When you left, you said you'd be back before I knew it.
I meant what I said. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was going to come back. There was people that needed me.
Communications override. Captain Rambo, spacewalk.
I have a lot of questions.
Cool, keep them to yourself.
No shoulder socket is discombobulated in this scene.
Well, considering in the MCU and the comics, Monica Rambeau has superhuman strength and durability, I don't see why there should be.
So I switched with someone named Kamala Khan?
Switched will do a lot of heavy lifting for most of this movie. And no, there's not ever a satisfying explanation for the switching. Yes, they explain it, but I said there's not ever a satisfying explanation for it.
And that is a subjective value judgment. Imagine if I sat here and sinned Reese's peanut butter cups because I personally preferred Snickers. Which is true, by the way. The fact that there are people that will immediately get upset about that explains why subjective value judgments are irrelevant forms of critique. You personally didn't like a thing. Okay, and?
After my predecessor was destroyed, heretics rose up to fill the void.
Why do I feel like she's describing events from the Riddick franchise?
Because you think you're funny and that anyone watching this thinks so too?
Like, in Endgame, she flew through a huge bad guy ship and destroyed it by doing so. Why is she being all sneaky here? Who's she afraid of?
I can't believe I have to do this, but in Endgame, it was time to fight. At this moment, she's seeking information. You would be the guy that blows shit up and asks questions later. What are you, Israel?
Why did the cat transport with Kamala this time, but did not transport with Carol on the previous jump and instead stayed behind for Kamala to freak out at?
Because when Kamala switched, the Flerken jumped onto her chest, something you cut out of the video because you didn't want your audience to see how full of shit you were.
Asking me to believe this family would immediately clean up rather than pack up the minivan and get the f*** out of the house.
As we were shown many times in the TV show, this is a family that escaped partition. Trust me, they ain't going nowhere.
Captain Marvel can absorb light energy. I can see it, and you can turn light into physical matter.
None of that makes sense.
Kind of like this video, but it didn't stop you from making it, am I right?
Why isn't it working when I need it to work?
A question this movie struggles to answer.
It literally doesn't. They explain it's an ability they needed to perfect through practice, and they show them practicing it. It's the superhero equivalent of being able to shoot an NBA three-pointer. You all think you can do it,
until it's time to actually do it.
This is like watching the finale of Spider-Man Homecoming, only it's not dark and I can actually tell what's happening.
This is like something I didn't like for certain reasons, and it doesn't have those reasons, but I'm still gonna thin it.
But if you give me more time, I can make it safer.
No.
The US government
Being anti-vaccine.
The Kree came here hopeful.
No one can hear her talking, so this entire scene needs a megaphone or an amplifier or something.
This space is a U-shaped valley. It's a natural amplifier. Don't you hear the echo?
But then you sick the Annihilator on us. Once again, the Skrull have betrayed the Kree!
Why isn't Captain Marvel attacking Dar-Ben right now? The bad guy is monologuing. This is the time to strike.
Attacking without thinking is exactly the reason they call her the Annihilator in the first place.
We have nowhere to go.
I feel like the bigger issue here is how everyone is planning to get onto a ship. The where do we go next issue can be solved with some quick searches on atmospheric similarities and proximity to a honeycomb thingy. How am I smarter than the people inside the universe we're watching?
You're not, because they already solved the how are they going to fit on a ship issue with, wait for it, multiple ships, something you are showing on screen.
We need to save who we can.
And now we watch in real time as Kamala realizes that using her superpowers earlier was essentially offering one last fun ride before death.
I'm truly failing to find any angle where this is a sin of this movie. You just described what happened on screen, told a joke no one laughed at, and called it a day.
The good guys dress in black. Remember that, just in case we ever wind up in space with Skrull contact. The title held by she, Valkyrie, means the Easter egg that you saw you did not see.
Jeremy raps in a video cliche. That's worth double.
When you left, you said you'd be back before I knew it.
Well, given how far she's traveled through space and relativity and all that, maybe not that much time has actually passed for Carol. You think of that? Did you not see Interstellar?
Did you? Oh, I see you sinned that movie, so the answer is obviously no. The only reason time dilation occurred in that film was because the crew of the Endurance landed on a planet that was close to a black hole.
Yeah, but Dar-Ben only has one. She must be overloading it with the energy from her space hammer thingy.
Oh.
I really feel like that was dumbed down specifically for people like you, and you still didn't get it.
Really, Fury?
They insisted.
If insisting is all it takes to get on the space elevator and hang out with celebrity scientists and superheroes, why is TMZ not aboard too?
Perhaps because they aren't related to one of the superheroes? Just a thought.
Monica will take care of her.
We will, and we will make sure she gets back home in one piece.
I wonder if she knows she's doing the exact thing with Kamala's parents that she is clearly still bitter at Carol for doing to her, which is the we'll be right back thing.
And perhaps she learned to honor a commitment due to her own personal experience, so when she says it, she means it.
Power stay activated after a switch. Good to know.
And so begins the training montage that attempts to help us make sense of their temporary swapping powers. Are they going to discuss strategic ways their powers can be utilized to gain an advantage on the field? No, they're going to play double dutch.
Wait, have you ever double dutched before? The amount of coordination you have to have just to jump rope is a lot, so being able to do this while utilizing their power showcases mastery of the ability. It's similar to how basketball players use tennis balls while dribbling to improve the skill. The tennis ball won't factor into the actual game, but it improves dexterity and concentration. The same is occurring here, where they're learning to use the ability near subconsciously and as a team. They already know how to fight.
Great, they're trained for party tricks. Amazing. So confident that they can save the world.
All right, this is the stupid-ass nitpicky bullshit that I am so fucking tired of on the internet. If you can't understand why being able to utilize a disorienting ability at a level where you can do other difficult tricks simultaneously, you seriously cannot be helped and are complaining just to complain. There is absolutely nothing wrong with this scene, and in fact, is the movie giving you something you always complain about, an explanation for how they're able to do something. Captain Marvel has already shown the ability to save the world, dude. Up to this point, we've been shown Monica is nearly as good. The only questionable one is Miss Marvel, but she's only questionable if you haven't seen her show, where we learn that she is able to fight as well. This scene is not meant to show things we already know they're capable of. It's meant to show us how they gained control of a new ability that requires concentration and coordination. God damn, shit like this is why people think it's okay to make multiple hour-long nitpick videos on these films, because you're all too stupid to understand the purpose of a simple scene. Embarrassing behavior.
Their language is song. Most of them won't understand you unless you sing.
Right, but the tones we use when we speak could be considered a cappella-esque and musical, right? Like, right now, my cadence and intonation could sound like music to someone. Removing all inflection and speaking robotically sounds like a much better plan if you want to be sure you're not technically singing.
No, because even with an a cappella, you would be rhyming, which is how rap works. And we're not talking about someone, we're talking about these specific people. So even if there is a crazy person that thinks you speaking sounds like music, they wouldn't be here on this planet. That's a double entendre, don't ask me how.
One could be more cheerful.
The musical equivalent of asking a woman to smile more.
Even if he's a dentist?
The Marvels.
Roll credits!
I'm giving both y'all sins for that headache-inducing bullshit.
I'm not alone.
I appreciate the hell out of this movie doing a fully musical scene on a planet where everybody speaks in song, but I wish they'd written a better song. The lyrics are so generic, it's as if they were written by an AI machine learning bot.
I'm not going to give a sin here, but I just wanted to get on a soapbox for a second. What's with all the forced AI hate recently? I mean, I can understand the "they're taking our gerbs" aspect of the critique, but then people say shit like the things AI produce is generic. If that were the case, aren't you saying that since AI is replacing you, that all you produce is generic slop too? And doesn't that mean AI won't replace people that are actually exceptional, which means if you get replaced, you weren't worth a damn anyway? I don't know, it just seems like a cell phone if you ask me.
What about Lady of Light?
Ooh, frequency. No. Pulsar. No.
Is the problem that Carol and Kamala are terrible at names, or that Monica is too picky?
No, these are all references to the many aliases Monica has had in the comics. You would know this if you knew shit about comics, but you don't, so here we are.
These tall, skinny ships look cool as hell, but aerodynamically speaking, hold on. I'm being told that this sin might cause a bunch of viewers to try and educate me on how aerodynamics don't matter in space. But hang on while I pick up my verbal RPGs. These tall, skinny ships are not in space, dog. They are inside this planet's atmosphere and are therefore less aerodynamic than if they were on their sides. So eat a of bags.
I'm still gonna correct you here, because it's clear these ships spend more time in space than they do in atmospheres. Besides, your suggestion of being on their sides literally makes no sense either way. They clearly do not need lift, as they are levitating, so being on their sides is functionally equivalent to being right side up.
The universal weapon was here a second ago, but now it isn't. And I'm wondering how many teleporting things this movie wants me to keep track of in order to follow along and enjoy. Which, for the record, I am not...
Huh? What were you saying?
I'm pretty goddamn annoyed at how many folks in this film can hold their own with Captain Marvel after the shit they showed me in Endgame. I'm adding 5 sins for this shit. This is some new person out of nowhere that is Thanos level strong all of a sudden. F that shit.
Putting aside the fact that Ronan with the power gem could have probably killed Thanos, Dar-Benn is a Kree accuser. In addition to being amped by the cosmic bangle she's wearing, which absorbs Carol's powers, making her stronger, she has superhuman strength, durability, agility, stamina, reflex as a regenerative healing factor.
Where did you get that?
My grandma. She sent it to me in the mail.
See, now this is where someone needs to tell the child to stop talking to strangers.
Sinning the best thing about this movie, Iman Vellani.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Shouldn't the hero worship have worn off by now?
I mean, not if she's doing cool shit. Look at how we reacted to Thor arriving in Wakanda, or Captain America picking up Mjolnir, or Iron Man stealing the Infinity Gems, or that one youth pastor stepping into a portal. We were all Kamala at one point in the past couple years, and we will all be Kamala when Wolverine shows up in Deadpool 3.
No, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
I'm really glad that you're here now.
In this completely f***ed situation?
Wouldn't that be exactly when you'd want a superhero by your side?
I'm sorry.
How do the Flerkens know which person to consume and which is essential to the plot?
Because Flerkens are highly intelligent and can understand human speech and orders. I keep telling you, they're not cats.
Also, all of this seems really important. I'm just wondering where any other superheroes may be. Not that they need men specifically, but help would help.
Well, Tony's dead, Steve is old, Thor's off-world with love, the Guardians are in space and potentially broken up by this point, Natasha's dead, Clint is training Kate and would be useless in this situation, let's be honest. No one remembers Peter Parker, so they can't get in touch with Spider-Man. Doctor Strange is in the Dark Dimension with Dormammu's niece, the Scarlet Witch is dead for now, Falcon is giving speeches, Shuri is in Haiti chilling with T'Challa too, Jennifer and Bruce are probably twerking, and Vision is busy dealing with his white privilege. Looks like everyone is busy.
I don't really want to write another sin about how powerful Captain Marvel is, and yet she needs help here, but can't change my DNA, people. Can't help who I am. And people are going to blame it all on the gauntlet bracelet things that came out of nowhere in this movie, and that's fine if you want to be a gullible moron.
Again, she is fighting someone that is, at base level, a little weaker than her, but is currently being amped by the cosmic bangle that specifically absorbs Captain Marvel's powers and makes her stronger. It's your fault that you don't know anything about the Kree, when we've had at least 2 movies featuring them already, and decades of comics that feature the characters. They are stronger than normal humans and would be superhumans to them, and now this one is sapping someone's power and using it to amplify her own. We already saw Ronan manhandle Drax in the first Guardians movie. You don't have to be gullible to understand this. Simply paying attention to what has been presented will suffice. But that's the go-to tactic of anti-intellectuals. It's no coincidence that flat earthers, anti-vaxxers, birthers, 9/11 truthers, and the alt-right refer to people that don't fall for their ridiculous conspiracy theories as sheep. You're reading from the same playbook.
Higher, further, faster.
Man, Kanye is going to sue you if you don't get those lyrics corrected.
Don't you mean Daft Punk?
So sometimes when a superhero flies through an object, it explodes, but sometimes it ignites. Okay? Okay.
This would make a whole lot more sense if you weren't talking about a fucking star.
I see. She gets a second chance to be a mentor with Kamala here. Let's hope she doesn't f it up as bad as she did with Monica.
Okay. What's the sin here? That was very bold strategy, Cotton.
We were hoping you could tell us.
So she's in another universe. Yay. And this one has a beast that sounds exactly like the beast we had in X-Men The Last Stand, but looks noticeably different. And am I supposed to cheer here? Because mostly I want to scream.
Yes, you're supposed to cheer because this is a big f***ing deal having the X-Men in the MCU, you party pooper. This even got my theater to cheer, and I was in Japan when I saw this movie. Do you know how hard it is to get Japanese people to make noise in a movie theater? It's like trying to pass a reparations bill in Mississippi.
I'm not present on social media publicly, but I do have like a lot of private accounts, especially on Reddit. I'm just like arguing with people about theories. I'm like, you don't even know what's coming, man. Like, you're so wrong. It's so liberating.
Make her one of us. A loving cup. A loving cup. We accept a one of us. We accept a one of us. Gooba gobble. Gooba gobble.
Gobble, one of us. We accept a one of us.